Hello.
Hey,
Guess what?
football's back.
Yeah.
Yay!
Not preseason.
Fuck preseason, man.
We don't want to see the seventh stringers anymore. So we're gonna
No.
watch Ravens and Chiefs
Boom, boom, boom.
together tonight.
Yeah.
All right, week 1, we're gonna guess the lines. We're gonna tell you what they are. We're gonna give you our picks, maybe, or what we kind of like.
Yeah.
And then that'll be it. So we got a full slate of games. Everyone plays week 1. I think the first buys are week 5 or week 6.
Yeah.
So we'll have 16 games a week for the first month.
Yep.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay. The defending champ I believe is always going to play on Thursday of the following year. So the Chiefs played the Lions last year.
Yep.
This year, the Chiefs host the Ravens in a rematch of a playoff game last year.
AFC Championship game, wasn't it?
I don't remember. Was it the Ravens' first game or no? I don't remember.
No, they won a playoff game.
Did they?
Yeah, because I think it was like his second one, Lamar Jackson's second or first. They did. They won a playoff game last year.
Yeah, that makes sense because the Chiefs had to play the Dolphins
in the Dub Freezing Bowl.
Yeah. Got it. We're starting to remember some things.
Remembering.
All right. So Ravens at the Chiefs.
Yeah.
So I went Chiefs -3, as did my friend Josh. And that is the most consistent line. There are a couple 2.5s.
Yeah, and it started at 2.5.
Okay, so we're both basically right on. Let's jot this down so we don't lose track of it.
Yeah.
I mean, both teams had good seasons last year. Chiefs at home, fairly equal. It makes sense that it's 3 to me.
I mean, the Ravens had an excellent regular season. Number 1, I think almost coast to coast. The Chiefs did not have as good a season. I think they only won 11 games. They lost their opener last year. But in the end, the top talent won out. The best quarterback won out. And I mean, I feel like there's some question marks with the Ravens. They lost their DC. Mahomes is still Mahomes. I could have seen this go a little higher in favor of the Chiefs, but it's the first game. So this feels like even money to me.
Yeah. Good. I always, when I talk about these things, I always question like motivation, as if these professional athletes should need specific motivation. But so you got the Chiefs who just won it all. So that, I mean,
back to back won it all.
I guess if I'm Andy Reid, I'd say, hey, remember when we lost on opening day last year at home? Let's not do that again. And that kind of gets the juices going, right? And then if you're the Ravens, obviously, you know, it's like, can you beat the best team? Like, obviously, they still would have to prove it in the playoffs, but there's going to be no lack of anything, I think, from the Ravens. I think that's why this is a little bit lower. I think Baltimore is a little bit hungrier. The Chiefs maybe a little Super Bowl hangover.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it's.
This game doesn't matter. Yeah. I don't think this game matters as much to the Chiefs. I'll be honest. Like, they lost the opening game last year. Who cares? They lost 6 games. Who cares? Super Bowl. The Ravens, if they lose this game, it's going to suck. And the press is going to be all over them. Like, their season is like, oh, is their season over? Like, there's going to be all kinds of shit narratives for this team if they lose, especially if they look bad, or like if it's not close, or so I don't know. I think that this is everything for the Ravens at the first game, and it's almost nothing for the Chiefs. I
buy into that at least a little bit for sure.
You know.
So I think the Ravens will come out and get the lead. I just don't know, like, when push comes to shove, if it's a close game, like, I don't know if they're going to hold on to that or not. So don't feel real strongly, but I do think Baltimore will come out and play better in the first half. I'll say that.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. You know, you've got 2 good coaches. You've got the coaching tree in effect here, right? Harbaugh was Reid's special teams coordinator in Philly before he took the Ravens job. Harbaugh's a great coach. Reid's obviously got 3 Super Bowls to his name and was the one of the architects who said, "Hey, that Mahomes guy looks good coming out of college, so he obviously knows what he's doing. I just want to see a good football game."
Yeah. Me too. Okay.
Do it.
We got another one here. This game is in Brazil. And apparently,
great movie.
There was some talk. I don't think it's actually going to get canceled, but there was some talk about it getting canceled due to like wildfires or something like that.
Oh.
I think that was not. I could be wrong. I think that was not ever really a serious threat, but it was at least talked about. So you got Packers and Eagles in Brazil.
Brazil.
And I have the Eagles by 3. Josh went the other way. He's got the Packers by 3.5. And what do we got?
Eagles by 2, it looks like.
It opened Eagles by 1.5. And
minus.
Most consistent is Eagles by 2.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, it's basically a pick 'em either way. We went 3 one way, 3 the other way. It's in between those two. I think that's fair. I mean, the biggest question mark to me, well, there's a question mark on either side, right? Is Jordan Love as good as he showed the end of last year? And then are the Eagles going to play nice with each other, Sirianni and Hurts and all that? Because they simply were dysfunctional towards the end of the year.
They fell apart, and their coach and their quarterback hate each other for some reason. This line makes total sense if you look at their records and ignore everything that actually happened, like from week, 11 through the end of the playoffs. This line makes a ton of sense.
But yeah, I think weapon-wise, the Eagles are definitely better. I mean, they have a great roster. They just picked up Barkley. They still have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. It's whether they, are they going to be mad at each other for calling the wrong play, or are they going to just execute? So that's the big question.
Yeah, the leadership. I think you're right. It's a leadership question. Do they have the leadership to marshal the resources that they have to affect victory? I don't know. They didn't show it last year. The Packers did. They took lesser talent and an unknown quantity in Love and made magic happen. Kicked the shit out of the Cowboys in the playoffs. Almost beat the Niners at home. I don't know. The Packers feel like the Packers of the last 3 decades to me, and the Eagles feel like the Lions / Browns / all the other shitty teams of the last 4 decades right now.
Yeah. So who is that? So Aaron Jones came over to the Vikings from the Packers. So is A.J. Dillon the starting running back for the Packers? I don't even. God, I forget.
I don't even know. Because that sounds like a name from 15 years ago.
Well, he aged 15 years in college because they gave him the ball every single time. I think he went to Boston College, but let's see.
What do we got? Matt Ryan's running back?
I don't think he went that far back. Dylan's
that sounds like an old. I know I'm wrong.
He's upper 20s, I think. Okay, what do we got here? Oh, they got Jacobs.
Jack from the Raiders.
Okay,
and he's pushing. He's got to be pushing 30.
That makes sense. So
A.J. Dillon is on IR.
Oh, he's on IR. Okay, so they got Josh Jacobs. So I mean,
he was good Josh 5 years ago.
His best production was not last year, obviously. Was that the Raiders or was that him? I don't really know. But, if he's as good as if he's close to as good as he was when he was in his prime, it sounds crazy to be saying that. He's fifth year maybe?
Jacobs?
Yeah.
He's got to be 30. He's got to be 30.
All right. We're going to go down a rabbit hole. Josh Jacobs' age, 26.
All right. So he's 30 in football years.
Running back football years.
Yeah, he's running back football years. He's 30. Why do I think he's been around for a decade? I don't know. He was on a shitty team that didn't do shit as a Raider, and he was on he was good on a shitty team when he was good. So I don't know. We'll see. It'll be very interesting. There's not a lot of named talent here right now on this roster outside of Jordan Love, but if you get the quarterback right, it just almost nothing else matters. That's a gross exaggeration.
Yeah,
it feels true.
So this game for me, I think you just have to kind of. I mean, okay. First of all, it's a Friday game, which is cool. There's games on Friday on. I think
dust off your Peacock
on Peacock.
Yeah, dust off your Peacock subscriptions.
Yeah, get your $6 a month out or whatever it is.
Or sign up for Comcast and you get it for free.
All right,
but
Yeah, I'll be tuning in. Friday NFL is
Sounds good.
I like
Yeah,
I
let's
like
do
it.
it. Hmm.
But what I was gonna say is I don't have a strong opinion one way or the other to start this game. I think you're gonna
Hmm.
find out a lot in the first quarter or so, like who's rusty, who's
Hmm.
executing, who's like it's gonna take that to really
Yeah.
find out what the result might be, I guess. So again, not a strong take on this. I was closer on this one, so I get
Yeah.
that one. The first one we were tied, so it's one to
Yeah.
zero so far. Any other?
I just think it's interesting that these teams had the inverse season last year. The Packers were like 3-6. And they were like, LaFleur's gone, Jordan Love's a bust. And then they completely turned it around. And they went 9-8. They got the last spot in the playoffs. They won a playoff game. They almost took it to the Niners. The fucking Eagles were 10-1. 10-1.
But yes, they were. Even at that point, I think if I
Shaky.
remember right, it was like the
Yes.
softest 10-1 ever.
Yes. There were a
Not
lot
that
of miracle comebacks.
they were really playing bad teams, but
Excuse me.
they they were pulling everything out
Yeah.
by like 3 points or
Yes.
whatever. And
Late game comebacks. It was tush push magic, but they fell apart. They were just everybody knew that something was wrong, and that bore out in the playoffs. They were listless and dumb in that game against the Bucks and Baker Mayfield. They gifted Baker Mayfield that contract he just signed in Tampa. This is a fascinating game given how last season played out, and I can't wait to see it.
all right, we got drama for Friday. One game, you got to
Yeah.
have a kind of a
Yeah.
drama-filled matchup or
You do.
whatever.
You do.
Okay, now we get to the true blue bloods of the last few years. We have the Saints hosting the Panthers. They're going to play football or try to.
Yes.
I have the Saints by 7.5.
I got the Saints by 4 because I don't think the Saints are very good, even if the Panthers are bad.
You are definitely closer, and you might be right on. Let's see what it settled at here. It opened at 5, and it is 4.
Okay.
So that is a humdinger right on the nose.
Yeah.
For Josh. So whenever that happens, if you haven't watched this before, we let that person explain why they nailed it.
Luck. But also, I don't think the Saints are very good. I don't think they're an exciting team. I don't think they're a well-managed team. I don't like their coach. I could keep going, but all of that, the Panthers were very, very bad last year. I think everything I just said about the Panthers, I said about the Saints, you could probably say about the Panthers, but the coaches knew, so we might see some changes there. We might see some miracles out of Bryce Young. I doubt it. And I think in a battle of bad teams, I'll take the slightly less bad team to win marginally.
All right. So Saints 4. So this is probably going to be the one I was off on the most or close to the most. Off by 3.5 points. I guess for how bad the Panthers were last year,
Bad.
I just thought it would be around a touchdown, and it's not. It's only 4 points. I don't know. I think it's it's a divisional game, right? Like weird stuff can happen in the division, right. And then it's like, how much worse can the Panthers really get? And I think it says a lot about no one's really high on the Saints. So I think a lot of people are going to look at this and say, "Oh yeah, give me the Saints." And 4, the Panthers are terrible.
They are. I think the question too was the problem with the Panthers coaching last year? Was that the issue? Because they fired the coach midseason, and that was his first year. I don't even know who is the coach of the Panthers right now. Does it even matter?
John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt.
He's gone by December. He was the Bucks OC, I think. That's who.
Canales.
Yeah, I think he was the Bucks OC last year. I don't think the problem with the Panthers last year was coaching. So let me just say that. I think maybe the problem with the Saints last year was roster construction, team management, and coaching.
So I was saying that the Saints, like everybody's going to say, "Oh yeah, Saints will cover 4," right? And for that reason, I think the Panthers is the right side. I just think, it's a divisional game. Like everybody's going to be taking the Saints.
Mm.
There's probably something there where there's a reason why it's only 4.
Mm.
You know, you get into some of these games, and sometimes the far better team is scratching to kick a field goal. You know, as time expires, 4 can be a lot.
Yeah.
So I mean, I like the Panthers. So that's the first one I actually really like of these games, of the first 3. So Josh, as I said, nailed that one. So we have 1 tie, 1 win for me, 1 win for him.
Hoot.
Okay, this is a very fair, equal podcast here.
Worst game of the week.
This one?
Yeah.
I don't know. The kicker like hit the crossbar and it'll bounce out. It'll be entertaining, maybe.
I mean, like Bryce Young throws 7 picks. I mean,
if I have 4 games on at noon, this is gonna not be one of them.
Yeah,
most likely.
Yeah. Okay. This is certainly in the running for worst game of the week.
Yeah. Okay. And the next one might be too.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Speaking of worst game of the week.
Okay, the Vikings are going to New York and they're gonna play the Giants.
The football Giants.
Yeah. And we almost had the same guess here.
Mm-hmm.
I had Giants by 2.
And I got them by 2.5, slightly better.
And I think, let's see, this one moved a little bit. So the Giants were favored to start and it flipped, and the Vikings are now favored. So Giants by 1, and it flipped to Vikings by 1.5.
Yeah.
So I kind of get lucky on that one. I was closer by a half point. Okay, so I think it was pretty easy to say that neither team was going to be a big favorite, right? It was going to go one way or the other. The Vikings got rid of Cousins, sort of a rebuild, or sort of a is Darnold half decent thing. And then the Giants had a horrible year last year. It's like, is Daniel Jones
no
somewhat serviceable?
No.
So you got the Jones-Darnold Bowl, and it's like, you know,
is Dable getting fired? Because I think people like the head coach of the Vikings. He's not done a ton, but I think people like him. I think people liked Dable 2 years ago. Now people think maybe Dable should be fired. It's weird. It's a weird game.
Yeah, so I don't know one way or another. Like, I think this is another game. I'll probably say this a lot week 1 because no one really does know until you're playing an actual game in the regular season, especially with teams like this that have so much turnover and like key pieces.
Yeah.
You just don't know what to expect. So I have no idea. I obviously am going to cheer for the Vikings because that's my team, but I can't say that I'm like extremely confident that they're going to win this game. If you listen to the past month of stuff we've been talking about, I'm higher on the Giants than a lot of people are. So I think they're going to have a decent year. And that's that.
There's just not a lot interesting going on with this game. You know, it's like if the Vikings had their number 1 draft pick starting at quarterback instead of being out for the year with a foot injury and knee injury. Yeah. You know, this is a fascinating game because you want to see what he's going to do. He's gone. So Darnold's not having this job next year, right? He's not. I don't care how good he is. He's not having this job. The coach is probably safe. Nobody believes in the Giants roster in terms of the skill positions right now. The quarterback, this is a team that is already looking, I feel like these are teams that are looking at draft position, not playoff position. I mean, maybe come week 9, we're surprised, but this is not a lot happening here. I think honestly, Saints Panthers is more interesting because they're seeing if Bryce Young can take some kind of leap is somewhat fascinating to think about. This just, I don't know, maybe this is the worst game of the week.
So we definitely disagree on this stuff. A couple things. So I don't think the Panthers or Saints, I don't think either one of those teams is going to make the playoffs. I think the Vikings or Giants could make the playoffs. Like they could make kind of a unexpected run. And I do think there is a chance that Darnold has a decent year and is in the mix next year, even though the Vikings took McCarthy.
That's really fascinating.
In the first round.
If the Vikings say win 9 games and they take that 7th seed, and Darnold is, I don't know, the 15th best quarterback in the league this year, the 16th, somewhere in the middle. You think he's still on the Vikings, or does he get a contract somewhere else?
It depends how McCarthy progresses and like what he looks like.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean that's a fair point if he's kind of somewhat serviceable, but not.
I just don't see. Yeah, I just don't see him being one of the 10 best quarterbacks in the league. I don't care, like whatever happens, I don't see him being like one of the 10 best quarterbacks in the league. Like he's had multiple bites at the apple in that regard, and he's never, ever, 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 shown that.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. I would agree with you there. Okay.
All right.
So, no strong opinion on that one. Let's move on. We have the Patriots at the Bengals.
Hey, maybe really, really good.
I went Bengals by 11.
And I went Bengals -7. I
think it's 9. I think it's right in the middle.
Is it? That feels about right.
If I can find it on here.
We're already in week.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is. Oh, it went down.
8.5.
Josh is gonna get it.
Wow.
It opened at 9. Would have been a split, a tie, and it went down to 8.5. There's even some 8s. Oh, some people think the Patriots are gonna be competitive this year, I guess.
That's a weird thought. I wonder if this says more about is Burrow really healthy and what's going on with the Bengals rather than anything having to do with the Pats and how they're going to be and how they're currently positioned or constructed.
Yeah, I don't know. Like even when the Bengals have had good seasons in the past 3-4 years, if I remember right, they've struggled kind of in the beginning of the season, like playing close games with teams that didn't end up being very good.
Yeah.
So I think it's just one of those like 8, well, whether it's 9 or 10 or 8.5, like it's kind of all the same. And like I said, in the NFL, you know, if New England can somehow make it a 1-possession game, you know, they're covering this. So I don't know, like you'd certainly hope that the Bengals could blow out the Patriots. But again, week 1, like are the Patriots going to be really, really bad, or are they going to be like, are they going to compete a lot of games? I don't know. Like that's obviously the question. So it's a little more than a touchdown.
Yeah, and I mean, again, is Joe Burrow, right? Because he's the only guy to beat Mahomes in a playoff game outside of Tom Brady. So it's like you've got 2 guys to do that. One of them is unarguably the best quarterback in the history of the game. The other guy's Joe Burrow, who seems pretty good too. I just think if he's Joe Burrow, there's no question that they cover, and this isn't close.
Yeah, the other thing is, did Ja'Marr Chase sign?
I do not believe he did. Yes? No?
I don't know. I can't even make it out from the...
No, from those headlines? Yes.
The final...
No, so he's still within the bounds of his rookie contract.
I don't think he's got a deal. So I don't know what that means about him playing. I'll have to read into it.
Yeah.
You know, we probably could have prepped by looking that up, but
yeah, we've got real jobs.
Yeah, that's true. So you can look it up.
Yeah.
Obviously, if he's on your fantasy team, you're gonna know. It'd be easy. Yeah, easy enough to find, even though we can't find it on a whim.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know. Like I feel just as confident that the Patriots could make this somewhat close as I do that the Bengals are going to win by 2 touchdowns. So I don't really know.
I mean, if the Patriots, you feel like defense is maybe the way that they excel this year. If excel, they can. So maybe they can keep it within a score and keep the Bengals from covering. And maybe this is an interesting game. I don't know if this is the worst game of the week, but it's certainly not one I would probably watch very close.
Jacoby Brissett versus Joe Burrow.
Joey B.
Okay, enough about that. Steelers at the Falcons. This game, I am. A lot of people probably aren't interested in this game. I actually am. Like, I think it's got. Well, there's some parallels you can draw between the two teams, and we'll get to that in a little bit. I said the Falcons were going to be favored by 3.5,
and I said they have -5. Falcons -5.
So it opened at 3, and it is 3.5 most places. So I nailed it.
That's perfect. Perfect score.
Which we were tied, so I just took the lead. Maybe we'll joust this out and go back and forth the whole way through. All right, so I hit it right on the dot, 3.5.
Mm-hmm.
So the Falcons got rid of Arthur Smith. They brought in Kirk Cousins. The Steelers got rid of Kenny Pickett. They brought in Fields and Wilson.
Mm.
So you've got new quarterbacks on both teams. You've got a new coach on one team. You've got, oh, wait, Arthur Smith is the offensive coordinator for the
Sure enough
Steelers.
is, yeah.
So he jumped across
Yes.
and they're going to face off week one. People making the schedules have to like do this on purpose, don't they?
I would assume that this is, yes, I would assume that this is something that was planned.
So I like Cousins and the Falcons versus the Steelers. Like these two teams should be fairly equal. Like you'd say, right? Like I don't think anyone would say, "Oh yeah, the Falcons are going to have a way better year than the Steelers," or vice versa. And then I don't know. Like I guess you just give the Falcons a little bit more. You give them an extra half point on the field goal. Cousins has been more serviceable over the last 3 years than Russell Wilson, so you give him a little tick. Like it's very fair. I kind of like the Steelers here. I feel like more people are down on the Steelers than they should be. And I don't know. I think you're going to get a little Russell Wilson resurgence. He played well for about half the season last year, and then things just got dysfunctional in Denver.
Did not get along with Peyton. That was not something that worked. Was functional.
Right. We had a dead cap hit of like 60 or 80 million dollars or something like that. So I do like the Steelers. I think they're going to cover 3.5. So far I like the Panthers and the Steelers on the road to cover. Any thoughts on this game?
I think a lot of people like the Falcons. There's a lot of Falcons love, and one of the reasons is Arthur Smith isn't there anymore. It's weird that he's on the Steelers because people have criticized the Steelers for years for not being able to figure out the offense. Tomlin, I think, is unquestionably a great coach who doesn't seem to be able to figure out the offense or doesn't want to and wants to, I think, leverage that to somebody else. If you look at the candidates he's hired to be his OC, I think Smith sort of falls into that mold. They haven't been able to solve the quarterback position since Roethlisberger left. Tomlin did not draft Roethlisberger. He wasn't involved in that, so he inherited his great quarterback that led him to his that was part of his Super Bowl victory and one more Super Bowl appearance. I think that's a huge issue for the Steelers. Having said that, still made the fucking playoffs last year. Still fucking did it.
Yeah.
Tomlin doesn't have losing seasons. So I think it's fair. It's fair to like the Steelers. I just don't think there's any question there. I just don't like their offense. I don't like the quarterback position for this team. I think the defense is always going to be good for them, even if they're using spare parts. So if for them to cover, it's not surprising. Any outcome of this game wouldn't be surprising. Steelers by a blowout, Falcons by a blowout, close game either way. Again, another game I'm probably not that interested in watching.
Yeah, if the Steelers start 1-8, just take the Steelers to win the rest of the games, right? Because Tomlin's never going to finish under 500.
I mean, it would be a first.
The other thing that's interesting, if you remember last year, Arthur Smith basically refused to give the ball to Bijan Robinson, who was supposed to be like this phenomenal talent. And when he did touch the ball, he usually did good things. So now you have the Steelers who typically do like to run the ball and kind of play a little bit of smash mouth. And then you got Smith coming over, and it'll be interesting to see how that all shakes out on, how much do they run it, how much do they pass it, and whether it works out for him.
Yeah, and another knock against Smith is when they drafted their tight end 6th overall, and he was going to be the next great tight end, and then never threw to him. It's like people were just so angry with Smith and the way he run his offense. It was confounding. It didn't make sense to a ton of people, like what he was trying to accomplish, what he was trying to do. He certainly didn't achieve anything with it. Yeah. So it's just such an odd hire for the Steelers. Why hire another guy with confounding offensive principles that don't seem to match what anybody else in the NFL is trying to do with an offense in terms of score points, run up the score, throw the ball, be innovative, be creative. Like it's a weird hire for the Steelers. Yeah, I don't know.
So one thing that just crossed my mind is maybe like Arthur Smith realized that Ritter wasn't as good as they wanted him to be, and like
Maybe couldn't do
they
it.
couldn't really
Maybe.
do too much on offense. Like they couldn't really open up the playbook, and so he had to kind of be limited to stay in games. And then I think, didn't Heineke like finish the year last year? Like Ritter didn't
Yeah,
even.
maybe. I mean, Ritter's not even on the team anymore, so it's
Right.
like it's just maybe that's it. He didn't have faith, but I don't know, man. You're the offensive genius. Why didn't you have the quarterback solved?
Here's
Like,
the
why didn't you
problem.
figure it? Yeah.
We are talking way too much about the Steelers
Yeah,
and
let's move on.
Falcons.
Move on. Let's do it. Let's get out of here.
Whoa. Texans at the Colts. You've got two sophomore quarterbacks, Stroud and Richardson.
Where Richardson did not have really a season last year.
No, he got hurted.
Yeah,
Bad.
three games, get hurt in his third game.
He got hurt in his second or third game and then didn't play anymore, I think. Something like that. So Texans at the Colts.
Yeah.
I went Texans by 4.
And I got the Texans by 2.5. Just feeling a lot of Richardson love right now.
You were like right on to start. No, it started at Texans 1.5 and it's all the way up to 3. So you still get it, even though it's creeping.
It is creeping up. Yeah.
Okay, Josh gets that one. Okay. It opened at 1.5, which seemed a little weird. Like that's not much love for the Texans.
No, considering the kind of season they had and how good Stroud was.
Yeah, so I don't know.
The coach was good. The defense was good.
I'm sort of torn on this one. Like it made me think that there's more to the Colts than I kind of expected. Like they are going to keep this close. Maybe Richardson is going to play better than I think he will.
That's it.
I don't want to say he's going to be a bust. I just don't think he's going to be like a franchise quarterback. So the line opening at 1.5 is kind of like, okay, maybe the Colts, win this game.
Yeah.
And now it's creeping towards the Texans. This is another one of those, like, I don't know what to think. Like, I'll say one thing. I think all the average Joes out there are going to say, oh yeah, the Texans will win this game. Mm-hmm. They're going to take them in their Survivor contest or whatever, like all the different contests and betting or whatever. And I don't know, like it's not going to be a gimme. Like, the Colts very much could win that game. Although obviously from what I've said, I like the Texans on paper. So I'm a little bit torn. I don't like this either way because I just can't really make that decision.
I mean, the season came down to the last game for this division, right? And the Texans won, but had the Colts won, they would have won the division and I think made the playoffs. And so I think that's one of the reasons the line is so close. That with the Colts, they both had freshman head coaches last year. Those were both really well regarded and well respected. I think a lot of people in the league love these coaches. I was impressed with both of them, clearly, given the results that they had. And the Colts did it with their backup quarterback, and Anthony Richardson is in play now. And I think that's what you're seeing. I think you're seeing it's just we don't know. We don't know. And unquestionably, his physical gifts are there. And the question is, can they be marshaled to be a really excellent quarterback in the NFL? And I think that's what people are betting on, or that's why you're seeing the line the way that it is. Because if he's as explosive and as dynamic as he potentially could be, given his athletic ability, this is clearly could be a very close game. But we just don't know. My gut is, I think, like you, we haven't seen it. And you can have all the physical gifts in the world. We've seen it time and time. It doesn't mean you're going to be a quarterback. We know that CJ Stroud was excellent last year as a rookie. So I don't know. If this even grows a little bit between now and Sunday, that wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's going to be close, and then it's like, can Stroud pull it out in the end? Yeah. I talked motivation a little bit. So the Texans sort of overachieved last year. The Colts are probably a little pissed off. Like they were close to making the playoffs. Maybe they have a little bit more focus and motivation. Yeah. So that's part of it too. So
could be a good game. This could be a good division to watch all year. These, could be very competitive for all 17 games.
Yeah.
Fascinating to see.
Josh gets that one. We are almost halfway through. We're going to move on.
Good.
We got the Cardinals and Tyler against the Bills and Joshua. Not you. Josh Allen.
Josh Allen,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Lovely girlfriend
taller.
he has. A little bit. A little
Does
bit.
she have a good personality?
I mean, based on her movies, yes, and her singing, yes, but she's quite nice to look at.
I don't even know who it is.
Haley Steinfeld.
I've heard that name. Can't picture her. Anyway, we both said the Bills are going to win by one single touchdown and one single extra point. And that is what it opened at. And it
Vegas
came
agrees.
down to 6.5. So it came down a tick, a bit. We tie on that one. So 3-3 with 2 ties. We really might do like exactly even all the way across this week.
Nah, I mean, we've got there's enough wiggle room here for somebody to come out with the victor, I think, but we are remarkably close.
So the story here, Kyler Murray was hurt most of last year.
Yeah.
They had a freshman coach last year, first-year coach. Cardinals played, I don't know, I guess better than people were expecting. So they kind of had a little bit of a rebuild year. Yep. Now it's, can they actually compete?
Yes.
And be in the conversation for a playoff spot. Yep. The Bills lost a lot of talent. Yep. So now the question is, like, was Josh Allen as good as he seemed, or was he kind of relying on a ton of talent around him? Diggs is gone. Gabe Davis is gone. I think, don't quote me on this, I want to say their defense is a little bit revamped. So I don't know. I'm not big on the Bills. I've said that a few times already this season. I really like the Cardinals to stay in this game, keep it close. I don't know if they're going to win, but I just don't know that you say, oh yeah, like it's Josh Allen and the Bills, they're going to smoke the Cardinals. Like, nope. He lost a lot of talent. I like the Cardinals here for sure.
To cover or to win?
To cover, and I would not be one bit surprised if they win this game either.
Me neither. I do think Josh Allen is a good quarterback, but I just don't know about this team. You know, they needed up until the last game to even get into the playoffs last year. They ended up, because of that they won their division, they made the playoffs, and then they once again lost in the playoffs to the Chiefs. I just feel like this is a team, the Bills, that needs a better understanding of who they are as a football team. And it feels to me like they're one coach away from really being the team that they want to be to win a Super Bowl and to be successful. I think the Cards are just weird. I think Kyler Murray could be an amazing quarterback. He's not had the infrastructure, and it's the Cardinals, so that makes sense to do that. Now he's got maybe arguably the best wide receiver prospect in, I don't know, generation. So let's see what they can do. Again, this should be an exciting football game. And the outcome, I don't know. But to see the Cardinals cover or win, yeah, that makes sense to me. That sounds fine.
All right. There you have it. I like the Cards.
I don't know who I like.
All right.
But I'll watch.
Let's move on. But yeah, I mean, that's that's an interesting game to watch. Obviously, if the Bills blow them out, it didn't end up being interesting. But
yeah, I think there's either of those scenarios is believable to me. The Cards are just all like trash. Yeah, if the Bills are like dysfunctional and discombobulated and Allen throws 5 picks, yeah, I mean, okay, I believe that. That makes sense to me.
Josh Allen was he was the top-rated quarterback in most draft rankings for fantasy.
Yep.
I mean,
he scored it was a high-scoring fantasy quarterback last year, I think.
I think you're right too. And I mean, with fewer weapons, I don't know if they just think he's going to be scrambling around and running a lot,
running and touchdown, because he's a fucking bulldozer.
Yeah. And then, does he bulldozer. Get hurt if that happens? I don't know. A lot of question marks.
Big ass dude, so that helps in his favor, and he's still young enough to do it. But
BAD.
Yeah.
Big ass dude. Okay. We got we're halfway through and we got we're getting a little long-winded.
Yeah, we sure are.
Titans at the Bears. We both went Bears by 3.
Bears, stop.
Guess what? That means we're gonna tie. It opened at Bears -5. It's down to 3.5. Okay. I'll go quick. I like the Titans here. I think there's too much hype around the Bears. You got Hard Knocks. You got Williams. It's oh yeah, we're going to the promised land. And then it's like, oh, we just lost to the Titans by 10. Like, what happened here? Yep. Not that the Bears are going to be terrible, but it's, they're going to be expected to do better than they do in this game. I like the Titans to cover this, and Vegas or whoever agrees with me because it opened a little bit higher than it is, and it's coming down. So there's people who think the Titans are going to cover.
Just too much Bears love, for one. This reminds me a lot of the season several years ago when there was a lot of Bears love. Was it Mark Trestman was a coach of the Bears, and Jay Cutler was a quarterback, and there was a lot of hype, and ooh, this offense, and ooh, this Jay Cutler. And in the opening game, they shit their pants and lost to the Bills at home. And the Bills were not a very good team. And so this feels like that Bears team. I can't buy into the coach. I think it's weird because this team won 7 games. Bears won 7 games last year and they're bad. I think the roster is better. I don't think there's any question that the roster is better. Doesn't mean it's good, but it's better than what they had. The coach is the same. I don't know, man.
Wouldn't it be cool if like we could have confidence in our team?
Yeah, it would be great. Like, but there's no history or infrastructure to have that, especially with the Bears. And I think everybody's shitting on the Titans. New coach, quarterback who did some things last year, had some highlights. Isn't a rookie. Yeah, I do like the Titans here too, honestly, just to win. And I think the Bears to be the middle-ass team that they've always been.
Okay, so we both think the Titans are going to keep that close, possibly win the game. Yep. And one little tidbit before we move on. So you mentioned Trestman.
Yeah, Mark Trestman.
Is there a more Eberflusy looking, carrying himself coach of the past 15 years than Mark Trestman? Don't they kind of have the same vibe? Like,
yeah, you know what? You could have said that about last year Eberflus. But post Hard Knocks, Eberflus, where he clearly had some sort of PR stylist, people come in and say, you must grow a beard and you must dress like this and you must look more professional than this sort of slovenly put together. Slovenly is not fair, but just this sort of kind of to his appearance guy that he was.
That's
like,
yeah, I haven't seen Hard Knocks and I haven't seen a picture of Eberflus lately, so maybe he's
looking pretty good. Yeah, he did. Yeah, they did. They got somebody in there to say, hey man, here's some slacks and a new haircut.
They played back his interviews and they're like, come on, do you think this looks good? Like,
yeah,
let's go, buddy.
Trestman was not like, he looked like your high school science teacher, like he was on the cusp of retirement. He was not.
Eberflus kind of did too before.
It looked like a I don't know. He was like indistinct was what Eberflus looked like. You wouldn't notice him in a crowd at all. Now it looks like a little bit of something.
All right. Well, there's some. I mean, confidence coming from Eberflus's newfound persona.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Newfound look.
Yeah. Okay. Jags at the Dolphins. I said the Dolphins are going to be favored by 6.
And I said by 3.5.
And you are definitely closer, if I remember right.
I feel like I underbid this. I am right on.
3.5, opened at 3.5, and it is stuck there.
I honestly, this is weird to me because I know they didn't have great playoff success last year, and that there are some questions about how sustainable this offense is, and is it really a juggernaut? I do think there's still some Tua Tagovailoa questions in terms of, is he a really good quarterback? I mean, they certainly paid him like he was. So maybe that's why the line is 3.5. But also the Jags were not great for some reason. Like on paper they should be, but they're not. And so maybe that's why this line is close. I think the score of the game will better reflect your line at 6. I think the Dolphins are probably going to win this game by at least a touchdown, maybe 10 points.
Yeah. So you've heard me say this before. Like if I go high and it's lower, usually Vegas knows more than I do. So if I had to pick this, I guess I'd say the Jags cover just because it kind of doesn't make sense to me. I feel like the Dolphins should win by close to a touchdown. So I don't know that I like it enough to tell you to go bet it or whatever, but I don't know. I guess I lean that way. But I don't know. Like McDaniel is definitely playing the card of like we haven't really done anything yet. We made the playoffs, sure. Like we were flashy last year, whatever. I don't care. Like let's work hard and let's prove it, which is the right way to do it. So a little bit torn on that one. I guess give me the Jags because 3.5 can be a lot, and I don't love it. So kind of a stay away.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't bet this, but I would be fascinated to watch the first quarter of this game just to see how it goes. Like, yeah. And I could see the Dolphins up by like 20 points, and then I could also see them tied at like 3.
Yeah, I don't know. The Dolphins should be hungry. The Jaguars.
So should they? They lost the division in the last week of the season last year. That's crazy. They were leading the entire 17, 18 weeks, and then they fucked it up on the last game. And they have to be hungry. If they can't come out and win this game, everybody's fired. And I know it's the first game, but everybody's fired.
All right. It's a bold take.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll see what happens there. You've got, I don't know, like 2 teams that underachieved down the stretch last year.
We'll just very much so. Even though the Dolphins made the playoffs, I think for the second consecutive year. Yeah, very, very much so.
Broncos at the Seahawks. We were pretty close to each other here. I went Seahawks by 5.
I went Seahawks 4.5.
And it was 5.
6 now.
And now it's 6.
6.
Okay. I get that one just barely. So we're tied 4-4. We each have 4, and there's 3 ties. The Broncos are expected to be one of the worst teams in the league. The Seahawks are expected to be.
Seahawks.
What's that?
They like the Seahawks. People like the Seahawks.
Do they?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I expected it to kind of be like.
Yeah, me too.
Middle of the road. Yeah. Probably a tough division.
Yeah. Maybe a tough out.
Yeah.
A game here or there, but stiff around the playoffs like they did last year. Probably don't make it, and Geno Smith's not going to win you a Super Bowl, and new head coach.
Yeah, so it's more than a field goal, less than a touchdown. We were both in that range. Yeah. Is Bo Nix going to be really good or not so good? No, I don't think anyone really knows until he plays a real game. No. So
that's the question.
Stay away from this. I think it's fair. I think the Seahawks are the better team. Yeah. They're playing at home. I don't know, like very vanilla to me.
It is. It's vanilla until Bo Nix explodes under Sean Payton's tutelage. This is Sean Payton's guy, right? Like he's back in it. He's won a Super Bowl, offensive genius, guided Drew Brees to be like in an era of Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. Drew Brees had a significant career, owns records, right? Owns passing records, won a title. I don't think you can't undervalue that. And so now Sean Payton has an opportunity to, and I mean, before he got to the Saints, Drew Brees was nothing. Like, I mean that personally, but he wasn't highly regarded in NFL circles. He was a bit of a cast off. And so Peyton made miracles with him. So if he got it right this time, I don't know, man. I think the Broncos could win this game by a lot and surprise some people with what they're going to do.
Here's what
depends on Nix.
Yeah, one thing I'll say is you got a rookie quarterback against a very good defensive mind in McDonald. Yeah. He goes in there and just like looks great. Like I think he's going to struggle a little bit just because it's his first game and it's because it's against someone who should know how to exploit a rookie.
Yep. You would think.
So I don't know. That's my take on that one. No strong opinion.
Nope.
We got the Raiders and the Chargers playing out in Los
Angeles.
Okay. We were both pretty close to each other. I went Chargers by 5.
And I went 5.5.
And it's only 3. It opened at 3.5, and it's Chargers by a field goal.
This is weird. This is so weird, this line. So
I
weird.
Barely get it. So
weird.
I say this all the time. I went 5. It's only 3. I would say, okay, like the Raiders is probably the right side. But sometimes you got to go against that. I do trust Harbaugh.
Harbaugh, man.
As long as Herbert's foot is like he's not hampered by it.
So
he said he's 100%.
He said he's 100%.
I don't know. There could be something there. The Chargers receivers, they have, Keenan Allen's gone. Mike Williams coming off, I think, an ACL or like some sort of knee injury. So there are some question marks. I don't know. Like, I just don't trust the Raiders to go in and like win this game on the road, even though it's a divisional matchup. I think the Chargers are going to win.
This line seems low to me. It really does.
I do think they'll cover the 3.
Yep.
So I do like it.
Yeah. I don't know. I know Antonio Pierce isn't technically a rookie since he was the interim guy last year, and they did do some things, and I like Gardner Minshew. I do. This is weird. How do you so undervalue the weight of what Jim Harbaugh can do as a coach? This is such an odd line to me. McGick, you said maybe Vegas knows something we don't, but I really like the Chargers in this game, like by a touchdown.
Yeah, I agree. And maybe I'm just biased because I took Herbert as my quarterback. A lot of quarterbacks go super early, so I'm always the guy who gets value on receivers and running backs and then waits and gets like maybe a quarterback that was undervalued. So I have Herbert. I'm hoping he has a good year. I really think he will because his coach is not what was his coach's name last year? I can't even remember.
Josh McDaniel was the guy who got fired.
No, the Chargers.
Oh, the Chargers. Oh, it's Brandon Staley.
Yeah. I think Harbaugh's a little bit better coach than Staley.
Probably a skosh. There was not a lot of love for Staley by the end of his tenure.
Yeah.
A lot of question marks about that guy.
Go Chargers.
And now isn't he the DC for the Cowboys now?
No.
Staley.
Oh, really?
Quinn left.
Right, but I didn't know.
He's on somewhere.
Oh, I guess I didn't think he would get on somewhere that quick. But maybe he's just like his value is as a coordinator and not as a decision maker, since he kept going for it from his own 35. All right, he's going to look something up, and I'm going to say it's Cowboys at the Browns. It's the next game.
Oh no, he's on the Niners now. He's an assistant head coach for the Niners. That's where he went. Not the Cowboys.
Well, I would not have expected that out of the Niners. I have some respect for their coaching staff.
Well, he's of the McVay tree, though. So that's a sort of a familiar relationship. Maybe he was on maybe he was on Shanahan's staff at some point.
Shenanigan.
Yeah.
Shenanigans. Cowboys at the Browns. I have the Browns by 1.
Browns 2. Dose.
Josh has 2, so we're both
right there.
I think we usually aren't that close to each other on our guesses, and we've been very close, and we've been pretty decent on the
Browns
line.
By
so
2.5.
The Cowboys were favored by 1.5. It opened, and the Browns up to 2.5. Yeah. So Josh is getting that one.
Yes.
What do you think there?
I think this is a lot about how the Cowboys ended their season and how good the Browns defense is. How good that defense is. I'll be honest. I know I said 2. This could have been a little higher since it's the Browns at home. I could have seen 3.5, maybe even 4. Again, given the strength of that defense, I think that's what you're seeing. I think why it's a little closer is just the Cowboys roster seems good. They won 12 games last year. So they theoretically should be a good team. They've got new OC, I think new DC. So maybe that's another factor here. But I'll be honest. I think as much as I dislike Mike McCarthy, I feel like the Cowboys are probably just going to win this game outright. That's maybe a dumb take, but that's how I feel.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like the line is fair. Like Cowboys could have been favored up to 3 on the road. Browns up to 3. Like they're fairly equal teams. I think it's a fair line. I don't know. Like I think this is sad, but I think I trust the Cowboys more than the Browns. But the Browns being favored by 2.5, like makes me want to lean that way. This is a complete coin flip to me. I have no strong opinion. that's just what I got for that one.
Yeah, and I think with the Cowboys over the last 3 or 4 seasons have the best regular season record just in terms of total wins. I think 3 years, something, whatever that is, they're at or near that. The roster is relatively stable. I know that there was some bullshit with the contracts with CeeDee Lamb and some of the others. Dak still doesn't have a contract extension, which he might not get depending on how this season goes. But yeah, it's a reasonable assumption to feel like that this iteration of the Cowboys is going to win preponderance of their regular season games. And this is a regular season game. So
yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Kind of got similar stories there. Like both seasons kind of fizzled.
Yeah.
Like both teams were definitely expecting more than they got in the playoffs.
The Browns I was so high on the Browns last year for the playoffs. I was on the Joe Flacco bus, and Joe Flacco got Joe Flacco'd, unfortunately.
Yeah, another storyline, right? Like you couldn't pick two teams who had equivalent endings to their season than these two. And I don't know if that was by design or if stories will just happen in the NFL, but that's what I'm going to say about that. We got the Commanders and Jaden Daniels going to Tampa with Baker and all his Bucks that he just got. I have the Bucks by 6.
And the Bucks by 3.5. Giving 3.5.
So Josh nails it. It was Bucks 4. It went down to Bucks 3.5. All right, take the floor, you exact guesser person.
Again, you don't know anything about these teams, and the Bucks are at home, and Baker signed a contract, and you kind of know what you have in Baker. You don't know what you have in Jaden Daniels at this point. You have a lot of hope and luck and a really electric, athletic quarterback who's not done anything yet at the NFL level. And I think that is, again, this is Vegas hedging. So he's like, we don't know, but the Bucks are at home, and there's more experience, and they did win a playoff game yesterday, so throw the hook on it. That's what I think we're seeing here. I don't know that I care for Dan Quinn as a head coach. I know he took a team to a Super Bowl, but there are a lot of people who did and lost that game who don't have a lot of legacy. This game could go either way. Nothing would surprise me. I think a lot of it rides on the performance of Daniels, but I mean that's true of any team and their quarterback. I don't know that either of these teams have standout defenses, to be frank. Although Quinn again is a defensive guy, so is I guess the Bucks head coach. 3.5 makes sense. I wouldn't bet this game. I'd wait to see what Daniels is, and
so the way I see it, like I thought the Bucks would be higher. I guessed 6. They were a playoff team last year. They won a playoff game. They're at home. Commanders were horrible. They have a rookie quarterback. So I'm thinking, why is this only 3.5? Like, is there something about the matchup? Like, what's going on here? So if you can trust a rookie quarterback and a new head coach in Washington, take the Commanders. Like, I think they're going to cover this somehow, even though it's probably not a popular opinion of the average Joes out there. I think there's something there. So I'm going to go through this at the end right before we peace out, but I'll give you like my 3-star, 2-star, 1-star picks of the week. This is going to end up being a 1-star for me. Okay, we got 2 left, and Josh just took the lead. And as I glance at these, I think we're going to end up tying, but who knows if the lines moved or what. Speaking of Lions, not lines, we have the Rams at the Lions.
Yes.
Stafford, Goff, quarterback switch. They played in the playoffs last year. It was like 1-point game. Eminem was getting everybody jacked up before the game. Okay, Rams at Lions. We both went Lions 3.5.
Yeah.
And guess what?
It
opened at 3.5, and it is 3.5. Look at that. Tie.
Yeah.
So now this is the part where we talk over each other at the same time because we both nailed it. No, the Lions were a better team last year. The Rams made the playoffs, lost by a point in Detroit. I think it's going to be competitive no matter who you ask. I think the Lions had a little bit better season last year. You give them the 0.5 point over the 3. That's kind of what I was thinking. That's what it is. I think it's a little too much. I think this game could go either way. The Rams maybe are hungrier, if possible, just because the Lions had more success last year. I think you take the Rams. I think the Rams are going to cover this.
I agree. Everybody loves the Lions this year, and I just feel like 70 years of history speaks louder at this point than one successful season in the last 30.
Regression? Is that where you're going?
Yeah, I do. And McVay is McVay, man. Like, he's an incredible coach. And I like the I like the Rams to win outright.
All right. We're both fairly high on the Rams on that one. So listen to us.
Or please don't. Please,
okay.
Especially where money's concerned.
That is the Sunday night game of the week.
Ooh.
The next one is Monday Night Football. We got the Jets at the Niners. I went Niners by 3. And
Niners given 2. Given 2. Go give the 2 Niners.
So Niners by 3, Niners by 2. I think it's more than a field goal. So it opened at 5. It's 4.5. So I get that one. So we each had 6 right, and we had 4 ties. So
wow,
right on the dot. We both were pretty solid overall. I guess in the week 1 lines.
Pretty good.
There's usually a couple teams where I'm just off. Like I forgot who they signed in free agency or like what happened, and like I'm just way off. Like I think the biggest miss I had was 3.5 points on the Saints Panthers, but we both were very solid picking. So let's get to this last game, and then we'll run through the picks. Yeah. All right, Jets at Niners. Rodgers is back. I think both of these teams are going to be very good this year. You got the Jets flying all the way to the West Coast, albeit it's week 1, so like that shouldn't have any bearing on anything. Rodgers is from California, I think, so he's kind of going home, although he hates his family.
He seems to hate a lot of things.
So the Niners made the Super Bowl last year. There are some question marks with the Jets and how Rodgers, I think everyone thinks they're going to be decent. Just how good are they going to be? So the Niners are more than a field goal, less than a touchdown. I think it's fair. I think the Jets are going to keep it close. Like, I just think it will be close. I think you take the Jets to cover.
Yeah, I mean, the Jets won 7 games last year with nobody at quarterback. So if you can have Aaron Rodgers come in and be even half of what he was, this is going to be a great team. And I like the Jets to win this game outright. If again, who knows, if Rodgers comes in and blows his other ACL or his tendon or his Achilles or whatever, if he appears to be a 40-year-old guy, then no. But if Rodgers is Rodgers, then I think this is a pretty easy call that the Jets win this game.
All right, Jets on the road are gonna win outright.
Yeah, that's what I like.
So, the Niners' offensive firepower against the Jets being one of the best defensive teams is a storyline for sure. I don't know. Like, both teams are well-rounded or should be. Breece Hall on the Jets. You got McCaffrey. Like, there's a lot of stars. This could be a very good Monday Night Football game, unless Rodgers tears his other Achilles.
Or whatever.
4 minutes into the game.
Yeah.
All right. So that's all of the lines and all of our picks. I'm just going to run back through what I like. I'll give Josh the opportunity to do the same, and then we'll wrap it up because it got a little long. So my only 3-star pick of the week is the Cardinals to cover at the Bills. I like the Titans and the Rams to cover as 2-star picks. And then I have a handful of 1-stars. Panthers at the Saints. Steelers at the Falcons. Chargers at home to cover. Washington Commanders at the Bucks. And then the Jets at the Niners. So I don't love a lot this week. I like a decent amount, and there you have it. What do you think? You got any like? I think this is really going to happen.
I do. I think Titans Bears. I think I like the Titans to win outright. I think that's a pretty good bet. The Bears. I think their ceiling is 7 games this year. I think 7 is reasonable given last year, but I don't think anything more than that. And I like a loss here for the Bears. I mean, I don't like it, but I do think it's going to happen. To me, that feels pretty solid. I think Rams over Lions in the week 1 also makes a ton of sense to me. Maybe it's a close game, but I enjoy that quite a bit. Those are the ones that I think really, really stick out to me. And then maybe Packers over the Eagles is another one that I feel pretty strongly about.
All right. There you have it. We like to keep this to 50 minutes to an hour. We went a little bit over. So we're just going to wrap it. Ravens, Chiefs tonight.
Boom.
Football is back.
Yeah.
4 hours and 9 minutes.
Yay.
Go Vikings.
Go Bears.